Hi everyone, greetings of the day. Today we are going to talk about how the emergence of various social media platforms has impacted broadcast media in India. When I say broadcast media, I particularly mean TV news channels here. The aim here is to analyze and find out how social media is altering existing journalistic practices and principles with a special focus on broadcast media. The expansion of various social media networks and their content has been observed to disrupt the functioning and news operations of TV news channels in several ways, be it the function of news sourcing, news selection, news distribution, or even editorial decision making. Social media networks can be seen influencing them to a great extent. For instance, a lot of news stories break on social media today, with broadcast media having no clue about it and having no choice but to source the story from the social network. Especially when it comes to the news events like disasters, riots, or accidents. Broadcast media is relying heavily on social media for visuals and other details, instead of their reporters or traditional sources like news agencies. The recent incident of a suspension bridge collapsing in Mobi village of Gujarat is one example to understand this impact. TV news channels used the videos shot by the users for newsmaking. Now, to bring more clarity and structure to the discussion, I will discuss in what ways social media has benefited broadcast media and the challenges it has posed, and the way forward. We'll start with news sourcing, one of the most fundamental functions of newsrooms. A huge amount of content is being generated and consumed by users on social media presently, and mainstream media has not remained the only source of news for consumers of news today. Rather, there are millions of news sources present all around in the form of social media users. On one hand, social media has eliminated the monopoly of traditional media as the sole media institution, while on the other, it has benefited mainstream media, especially broadcast, by providing direct and instant access to valuable news content in unprecedented ways. For instance, when social media networks were expanding more than a decade ago, news about the death of Osama bin Laden, the death of Michael Jackson, US Airways flight landing in the Hudson River in 2009 were reported on social media first and then picked up by mainstream media. Broadcast media also has realized the changing media landscape and that new networks have emerged as a source of news. Notwithstanding a setback to its institutional power, broadcast media is showing no qualms in picking social media content for newsmaking. Rather, it is now willfully collaborating with social media users, asking them to share their stories with them. They have started calling them their unpaid reporters, who are gathering news for them from around the world. In brief, we can say sourcing news from social media has become a norm in broadcast media. However, it has posed some grave challenges too, which I'll talk about after discussing a couple of more advantages. Besides collaborating for sourcing news, another area where social media has proved extremely beneficial is journalists' personal engagement with their followers. Journalists can now engage with their audiences on social media personally, which was not possible earlier. It is helping them in building their own audiences while it also helps in rapport building with users. Besides news sourcing and journalists' personal engagement, news distribution on social media is another big advantage the medium has offered. With the help of social media, news channels are now able to increase the viewership manifold. All the channels have their social media account and distribute their news content on it, besides broadcasting. Journalists working with the news organization too share their stories through personal social media account to reach out to the viewers. With social media, news organizations are able to reach millions of users at almost no or negligible cost. Therefore, for news distribution, social media is nothing less than a boon for news organizations. Now, as far as challenges are concerned, social media has posed some grave challenges too. Now, as I told, news sourcing may be an advantage, but one of the greatest challenges associated with it is the verification of content. Social media has become a platform where a huge amount of misinformation floats freely, and more than often, broadcast media is falling prey to it, despite exercising all the checks and balances. There are several examples of this. Like during the time of demonetization, national broadcaster Z News aired a bulletin showing that new 2000 rupee note will have a chip inside it, falling prey to fake news on social media. Rahul Shivshankar of Times Now broadcasted news about PM Modi holding a press conference based on a fake circular doing rounds on social media. Another important newsroom function is the selection of news. Now, the selection of news has become another challenge in the age of social media. Gone are the days when editors in the newsrooms were in the sole authority in the selection of news. Now, since the advent of social media, the virality of the message or trending issues on Twitter are intervening in editorial decision making too. Issues trending on social media or videos going viral on it represent that most users like that content. News organizations are not in a position to disregard such content, even if the content is not newsworthy. For example, news about Sonam Gupta Bewafa Hai, text written on a currency note during demonetization, was given space by both broadcast and print media significantly. Also, news about the wink of actress Priya Prakash Warrior was given coverage in primetime bulletins. Therefore, social media has reduced the power of editors in the newsrooms as the virality of the message or issues trending on social media are deciding the newsworthiness of the story. The third challenge is related to the ethics of journalism, which seems to be at stake whenever broadcast media deals with social media. Social media, as an unchecked medium, discloses all information of sensitive nature, which mainstream media cannot reveal as an ethical practice. This has put mainstream media in India in a state of dilemma as to which path to follow. In cases of crime, the identities of the victim get revealed, while in cases of communal riots, the information, including a lot of misinformation about the communities involved, floats freely on social platforms. Even if the identities are not disclosed in mainstream media, they are already in public domain. The user knows more than what the news organization is telling the person. News consumers resort to social media to read, watch uncensored versions of the happenings where the details like name, caste, and religion easily make known. Even the images and videos related to a victim are being made public as no restrictions are there in place for social media. This raises a pertinent question on the very existence of the established norms for journalism. Mainstream media is expected to adhere to ethics, which ideally should be the case, but at the same time, there is a parallel medium, which is social media, where any information can run freely. Now, after talking about both the benefits and the challenges, the suggestion here would be that news organizations should exercise added caution while they source and select content from social media. The essential function of verification and gatekeeping should be given utmost importance in the present times. Media organizations should sensitize their journalists working at all levels to stay calm and composed while they check social media content. Journalists should manage to strike a balance between the audience's interests and the newsworthiness of the content while they select news. Social media giants like Facebook and Twitter should develop a mechanism to take down fake and sensitive information immediately before it does any harm to public. These are testing times for broadcast media where the job of journalists has become more demanding. To conclude, I would say that social media is about adapting to the changing environment and simultaneously dealing with emerging challenges. By now, you would have known that in what ways social media networks like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. are influencing the content and functioning of broadcast media. That's all for now until we meet next time with a new topic.